Hey there, and welcome to another Curtis Stage video tutorial. Today's tutorial is in Photoshop, and we're going to be making cinemagraphs. So a cinegraph is a living photo. You read it like a still image with all the attention to composition, subject matter, design, and concept that's usually found in photography. But of course there's a twist. Part of the frame moves, usually playing for a few seconds, then loops back again. And of course cinemagraphs, you've probably seen them before. They're part of the GIF family. But cinemagraphs are a little bit different, and we're going to take a look at some of them to kind of see what I'm talking about there. So in the early 2000s, some artists played around with moving photographs and began to develop a visual style that's used today. The term cinematograph was coined by two New Yorkers, fashion photographer Jamie Beck and graphic designer Kevin Berg. They worked together on a lot of advertising. Here's a couple of examples. We've got a client, Armani, here. And you can see it's a still photograph except for the one moving part, the hand with the coffee. And of course, these two artists were starting to use these within advertising. Pretty amazing. And it kind of started a whole revolution. They weren't the only ones doing it, but they were the ones to kind of bring it into advertising and kind of make it popular. And then here's another one you'll see. So just a couple things moving. We've got the, right? She's not moving, but you look. We've got the drape moving. We've got the sky moving in this mirror. Of course, the sky moving out, or the outside moving. And then just the tablecloth here. Everything else is still. So really cool. And then maybe some shadows going across here on the inside of the chair. Very, very cool. So moving photographs. So unlike traditional video where everything moves by and is quickly forgotten, I guess, the looping aspect of cinemagraphs gives you a lot of time to explore the movement. In this regard, they're much like a traditional still photo and not like a video. It's this hybrid photo-video aspect, which makes them the perfect, makes them perfect for GIFs and for our screens that we're all on. They're very exciting on, Instagram and things like that. So here we got two cool examples. And let's look at some more. So this Elaine Parker, she's in advertising as well. She's a Paris photographer. All she does is do GIF art for advertising. So she's kind of made her name in that area. You can see some in and around Paris type things. So another artist that's exciting, Anthony Samaniego. He's an LA artist. You can see his work online. I highly suggest following him on Instagram. He's not just a GIF artist. He does, photography, in general. He does fine art photography, he does advertising photography, he does lots of things. He covered Coachella a bunch of times, and he's kind of famous for doing his GIFs at Coachella. So you can kind of check out his work. Really, really cool. Of course, we'll see people make GIFs out of movie posters. So we've got this happening for Inception. Perfect for that movie. And then Pulp Fiction. Just the smoke out of Uma Thurman's cigarette. Awesome. So animating movie posters or DVD covers or whatever, right? Here was an actual movie. Now, I didn't see this movie, but it's an actual movie called Stoker, and part of their advertising campaign was to make cinemagraphs, and they would have them on their website and advertising throughout their campaign. So pretty cool. Never heard of this movie, so maybe the advertising didn't go so well. I have no idea. Anyway, I don't know. So Stoker. All right. One of the great places to see GIFs and cinemagraphs, of course, is Giphy. And if you have not gone to the Giphy.com, you should. You probably know about Giphy already. A lot of it's built into our iPhone now. So in messaging, you want to message somebody, you can message somebody a GIF now. And it's usually pulling those GIFs from Giphy. So what I'm going to suggest to you is search through the cinemagraphs on Giphy to see some exciting, fun ones. There's a lot of great ones on there. And you can even upload yours to Giphy. I would suggest making an account there if you get some cool ones that you get going, and upload them there. Really fun. You can use your own GIFs as maybe, who knows, maybe they'll turn into cool memes, right? All right, so let's get started in Photoshop. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we have a file that we're going to download, and I have that available for you guys. And we're going to open up Photoshop and then import that file in. But we've got to open up Photoshop and set up our document first. So I'm going to go to Create New. And you'll see that up at the top here, there is some pre-made sizes. I'm going to go to Film and Video and pick the HDTV 1080p size here. So this is the standard size for just HD TV, and we're going to create our GIF within that 1920 by 1080. Just click Create on this. All right. So now that once we've got that, we're gonna have to turn on our video timeline within Photoshop. So we're going to go up top to Window and Timeline. And that's going to show up down at the bottom down here. You're going to see it says Timeline in the tab. Everything's grayed out for right now, but we're going to create, there's two options in here. There's to create a video timeline and create a frame animation. Now, we're going to do that tutorial later on in the semester. We're going to do some animation here in Photoshop, but today we're going to use Create Video Timeline. You're going to want to click this button right here, and you're going to see that it creates a timeline and some things start becoming available to us. I'm going to pull this up a little bit, give myself some more room. So see how I can just drag that up a little bit. I grab right there and I can pull that up there. I still want to see my whole canvas here, but I want to see a little bit more of this video track. Now over in Layers, you're not going to see anything different right off the bat. It's going to look the same over here. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. We're going to be using two things now. We're going to be using Layers, but we're also going to be using a timeline. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our video into Photoshop in here. So we're going to, there's two ways we can do it. We can drag that MP4 file right in there, right? And there we go. And it's going to fit right on our video timeline. Okay. And you can see that it created a layer right here of the video, right? It created a layer. And if we look at it, I'm going to click off of her for a second. It's got a bounding box on it for transform. I'm going to hit check mark, apply that, and then I'm going to click off of it and go down here, and you can see I can scrub through the video on that layer. I don't need layer 0. I could actually get rid of that layer. Just hit delete on your keyboard, and I want my Cinemagraph video to use layer only. If I toggle this open, you can see you've got some things going on in here. I'm going to toggle that shut for right now just to kind of show you what's going on. I've got a play button. Okay, the play button shows the actual video. I've got the step, go back to the first frame. It's going to step back to the first frame. I've got individual step buttons. These are important right here. This is going to step through the timeline. We're going to use that in a second. We've got our audio on. We're not going to need that actually. Won't show up. Resolution, it's fine. I want to click loop playback when we get here, and then we can cut the video, which we're going to use, and then right here we've got the select transition. We're not going to use that, so we're going to use this cut video, split at the playhead. We're going to use that in a second. So I want to zoom in on this so you can see down the bottom of this video timeline. Move Photoshop up a little bit. You can see at the bottom of the video timeline, I can zoom in. I want to extend this out. I'm basically zooming in on that time right there. I can go all the way into frame by frame. There's 24 frames or 30 frames per second, depending on what kind of video you have. In this case, you can see each individual frame. And if I step forward, you can see my playhead moving through the frames. It's going to be important that we zoom all the way in. So what we want to do is we want to figure out where we want to put our playhead. This blue bar is this blue little guy right here with the red bar is the playhead. We want to figure out where we want to put that playhead. I'm going to zoom out just a tad, pull this down, So you can see I'm at 29.97 frames per second. That means there's 30 individual photos or frames inside each second. So I really want to be in these frames. So here's frame 10, frame 12, frame 14. I zoomed out so I'm seeing kind of 2 frames at a time. And again, I can use my step button to go through it. So what I want to look for is I want to look for an area in the video, just a few frames, maybe 5 or 6, where his arm is not moving very much. We're kind of okay here. This area doesn't matter. What he does, I want to pick some areas in the video where his arm's not moving very much. You'll see why in a minute. There's going to be movement. The little sparks are coming out. But you can see when I scrub through this, I'm just kind of scrubbing back and forth from frame 16 to about frame 20. You can see there's not a lot of movement of his hand, and this, right, it's kind of keeping steady. Again, don't really care about that so much. So I think a good spot probably is maybe right here, frame 22, right there, right? So right there, figure out where this is the start that I want to do. So I want to trim right there. So I'm going to hit this little scissor, and I've got that part right there. Now I'm going to continue on for a few frames, stepping forward. I'm going to use this step forward button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go 6 frames, and then I'm still clicked on this. See how it made a new layer right here? I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to hit the scissors again. Okay, so now I've got this section right here. That's what I want. I don't really want this here. I'm going to delete it, the original layer, and I don't want this that created the back layer. I'm going to get rid of that. I just want that part of those 6 frames. I'm going to drag it. Look how I drag this down. I'm going to decrease my size of my timeline now, and I'm going to drag this all the way back to the start. It moves to the end. You want to move it all the way back to the start. So I'm going to do this. So now I've got this going right here, and it actually, there's no frames right there. So basically I can step, 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 right? And that's the last frame. So I can actually just shrink that down, and then of course it would be over after that. So I've just got a few frames right here. So I've got my in point and my out point. Basically, it was 6 frames. Now what we want to do is we want to make a new layer on top of this over in our layer stack, right? We want to make a new layer over here now. So I've got this. This is all great. I'm going to move my playhead to the start. So let's move our playhead back to the start. And then over in our layer stack, I want to create a new layer above. Notice when I do that, it creates a new layer above in my timeline. I want to grab the end of this, so it kind of went all the way down here. I'm gonna bring this, see this little gray bar right here? I'm gonna bring it all the way down so it stops making things so long. And I'm gonna bring these so they're equal in size. I'm just dragging it down. So I want layer 1, I want it to be equal in size to down here. So I've got that going. You might have to watch that again. I just dragged this little guy right here. This is my out point, and I dragged the edge of this video clip, which is a transparent layer, essentially. Okay, again, bringing my playhead back to 0 here, back to 0 frame. And now what I want to do is I want to, while I'm clicked on this layer 1 right here, I want to go to my brush tool. So I'm going to go to the brush tool, and I'm going to go to general brushes and pick a hard round. Okay, the size of it can be about this size, right? So maybe a little, kind of maybe around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint over the area of movement, which will define where the layer will and won't be visible. So what I want to do is I want to paint in this area right in here, maybe his hand. If I kind of, I don't know, let's just start. So I'm going to pick a color here that's kind of bright so I can see it. So I'm going to go red. And I'm going to start painting. Everything should be normal, mode normal up top, opacity 100. There's no blend modes going on here. We're just painting almost like a mask. So I'm going to just kind of do his hand. And we can always change it if we have to. I'm just going to kind of do his hand here. And paint in here. Okay. I'm going to make my brush. I'm going to keep my brush this size and just kind of paint this. And then get the sparks. Something like this. Okay, a little messy, but you got it. Now I'm going to scroll here and just scroll through it and see how much, does that, yeah, it's pretty good. If I go to like the 4th frame, I can kind of just go back and just see his hand moves a little bit beyond that. So I want to paint that out here. And I think we're good on the sparks up top. Looks pretty good. There's a couple sparks that fly off. I'm not really concerned about those. Maybe we do the shadow too, but for right now, let's just do this. All right. Now we're gonna make the paint layer invisible, right? So so to do that, to make the paint layer invisible, we're gonna go to the last frame. So we're gonna go have your playhead as far as it can go. The last frame is actually this one. It seems like it'd be that one right there, the 0.5, but this is the last full frame right here, right? So again, if I step forward or backward, it's showing you each frame. Look at the little gray area right down here. So step forward, step forward, step forward, step forward. That's the last frame. Okay, I know there's a chunk right here. It seems weird, like wouldn't this be the last frame? But no. Okay, I'm going to make my layer 1 invisible. So I'm seeing my image here. And what I want to do is I want to make a still out of this image. Okay, that's why I needed to turn this red off that I made. Think of that red as like a mask kind of. Okay, so I'm going to make a still out of this image. So I'm going to do Shift. Let's do the keyboard shortcut to do this. So we're going to do Shift, Option, or Alt on a PC, Command, and N. Shift, Option, Command, N. And on a PC, Command, of course, is Control. Notice how it made a blank layer right here. Okay, we're not done yet. And then we're going to do, so it makes this kind of stamp visible layer. And then what we're going to do is copy the thing we just did. So that just made a layer for us to make a copy into. So another keyboard shortcut, Shift, Shift, Option or Alt, Command or Control, and then E. Okay, look at that. See how this still image, you can see it went right in there. Nice. Now, of course, I don't need this to be this length. It keeps, it kind of extends out. I don't know why it does that. So I'm going to just grab the end and pull that back here just so it's more manageable. Zoom in. So I zoomed out to do that. There is no keyboard shortcut to this. You have to use this little slider back here. Okay, so now I've got the still right here. Okay, so that we want that top layer now to go back to the start. I'm sliding it back to the start, and I'm going to pull this so it's even with everything else. We're going to move the paint layer above. So I can move it above right here. And look, it'll move it above on the video layer. So I can move it on my layers panel. I can also move it on here. So we're going to command click on this. I'm going to turn the eyeball back on. I'm going to hold down Command or Control, and I'm going to click on this layer to make a selection. So I just made a selection out of what we painted earlier. So now that we've got that, we're actually going to create a mask out of, on layer 2, the stamped still layer. So this layer 2 is a still layer, and we're going to create a mask out of this selection. So we've got the selection. Let's go down to our mask tool down here on the layers panel. Add layer mask. You can see there it is. Black hides, white reveals. I technically don't need this mask anymore, the red one that I painted. I don't need that anymore. Now I've got this. Okay, so we want to inverse the mask though, because since the black hides and white reveals, I actually want to, on this still layer, I want to hide the still of this flame. I want to reverse this. So I'm going to inverse this. If I click on it and go to my properties panel, I can hit invert, right? And then go back to my layers panel, and there it is. I have my properties panel just kind of right up here with my layers panel, but you can see if it was off to the side, just go to window and properties to open up your properties panel if it wasn't open. So I just scroll down a little bit and hit invert. You can see that in back and forth, invert. I want it white with black. So the brush itself is black and the rest of it's white. Okay, so that's nice. Now we don't, again, eyeball can be off on this paint layer or you can trash it. I don't really care on that. So now what we want to do is we can scroll through and we can see if I play this, I could scrub through right here, but not as fun. If I hit the play button, look at that. So I've got his hand looks kind of funny moving. So I can go clean up the mask if I want. I could decide, oh, I don't want the hand in there, although I kind of dig it a little bit. But watch out. So look how it's looping endlessly. So I'm going to click the stop button. And if yours wasn't looping, you want to click the little gear and click loop playback right there if it wasn't looping. Okay. So I like this, but let's say I don't want the hand situated. I am gonna get rid of this layer so it's not confusing. I'm gonna trash the red layer, the red paintbrush layer. I'm gonna go to the mask. Again, since it's a mask, I can click and edit this mask. Now, the best way to edit this is probably gonna option click on the mask. So I hold down Alt on a PC or Option on a Mac, click right here, and now I can edit the mask. I can see it. So maybe I want to edit out his hand. So I'm going to paint white on there. So let me flip this, paint white here, and just see what it looks like. I can always put it back in. Let me just paint that out. Okay, cool. And now option click, hold my mouse over the mask right here, option or alt click, and then I'll hit the play button down here. Yeah, that's better. I think that's cool. Now, I want the shadow to also be moving. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go back to my mask. Now, I need to see it. So, because if I go to option and click right here, I can't see where the shadow is. So I'm not going to do that this time. This time I'm going to paint over this. So I want to paint with black, right? Which is going to hide to the left and reveal the video below. So I'm going to paint over here. I might zoom in, use my space bar to move around. Even though this is a video, it still can do that. Okay, so now I'm going to paint in here. So you're not going to see it. Just trust me that you're painting. Just kind of, whoop. He moves a little bit there, but whatever. Okay, I got it. So now I'm going to, oh, maybe I don't want that, actually. I don't want the hand. Well, whatever. I'm going to take this and paint the smoke. And I probably got all that. Okay, so now I'm going to zoom out. Okay, and hit my play button here. So let me pull this back up so you guys can see my timeline and hit the play button. And now, yeah, okay, I don't want the hand again. I keep painting the hand. Maybe I don't want that. So I'm going to go back to the mask and paint with white. So you got to be on the mask layer. Paint with white. I'm going to cover up the hand. I don't want that hand. So I'm painting with white. There we go. Pretty nice. So we got the sparks and the flame in the background going and nothing else moving. So there's your GIF. Now, you've got a cinemagraph going. Let's make it a GIF. So we're going to edit this out. We're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Export, and we're going to go to Save for Web, Legacy. I'm going to do that. This is where the GIF area is. When I go here, I can click on the video and get this dialog box, zoom out. I'm going to go, instead of where it says JPEG, I'm going to go to GIF. Okay, great. I'm going to go to, so you can see it's got Transparency, it's only got 256 colors, fine, it's great. I'm going to say looping options, forever. It needs to be forever there. Press play and test it. Awesome. Okay. Then I'm going to click save. Not done. That feels like you'd say done, but I'm going to click save. Then it's going to ask you, where do you want to save this? Of course, you could save it to your desktop, but you're going to be uploading this to Canvas. So I want to see your cinemagraphs. So, and then I also want to see one that you make on your own. This would mean maybe shooting some video with your phone. Okay. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So there's my cinemagraph. And on a Mac, let me minimize this. On a Mac, all I have to do is click on it and press the space bar on the Mac, and it's going to show me the cinemagraph. And I could upload that to Giphy.com. Now, what I want you guys to do for your assignment, for this demo assignment, is I want you to give me your version of this, and then I want you to make one more. Now, to make one more, you could do any number of things. You could get some video off the internet, a short little part of video off the internet if you want. You can experiment with that. Somebody else's video, it's fine. Or you can go and shoot something with your phone. Keep it short. Maybe plan it out. Make sure there's not a lot of movement going on. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing has a minimal amount of movement. So if you have somebody holding something, really look at Giphy.com at examples of cinemagraphs. You can see what other people have done. And what you're going to want to try to do is shoot maybe 10 seconds of video, because you're not going to need much. You're going to need 5 or 6, 7, 8 frames out of that. So the shorter you shoot, the better. And I want you to upload one of those as well to our demo assignment for cinemagraphs. All right, so this has been another Curtis Stage video tutorial. We'll talk to you soon.